Perfect. Thank you all for joining us again. Just scan that QR code or click on the link that's in the chat. Just make sure you guys are on mute whilst joining online this evening. If you have any questions, please feel free to put in the chat throughout the night, and we'll respond to them either during the night or if we have time at the end as well, we'll be able to get round to them towards the back end of the session. Alrighty. Give it one more minute just on that QR code. So just one more minute, just because we had a few extra people just jumping in online. Righty. Again, the code word is positioning for those latecomers. With that question just off the top there, Drew, there are some YouTube clips where there's also some other video links to the clips that we won't be able to send across via here, via the chat. So we'll have to access them at a later date. But Joey will touch point on that when we get to that in the presentation to make it easier for everyone's viewing. Alrighty, we'll just jump into it this evening. So obviously, just across Queensland as well, with the news that came out on Friday of Mark stepping away from his role at Football Queensland as well. Just want to thank Mark for, and I'm sure everyone here can respect as well, all the time, effort, coaching, hours, and everything that Mark has put on and off the football pitch across Football Queensland, from as far north as Cairns and Mount Isa, all the way down to the South Coast and Darling Downs. Mark he spent hours. I've worked really closely with Mark for the past few years. I also was coached by Mark when I was coming through myself, as were many of the other young officials out there too. And I really appreciate all the hard work he's done for the organisation, and also for all the young officials that are coming through. It's definitely appreciated, and he is going to be missed hugely. Absolutely. It's a big loss for us at Football Queensland. But I can say now he will be a huge he'll have a huge impact still within the Sunshine Coast region, as well as working with some of the next generation refs, I'm sure, coaching them through and through. So again, thank you, Mark, Simon Green, for your fantastic efforts over the years as well. And you will be missed for sure within the Football Queensland family. But don't be a stranger, and please reach out to us. And also, please, if you guys see him out in the grounds, please say hello to him, reach out to him, and be more than happy to coach a lot of yous as well. Okay. Excellent. So with that being said, we have the new referee department structure, which we've got a touch point on for the development personnel. Okay, so at the top we have our senior manager of leagues and officials, will be Slater Asnakar. Underneath is manager of officials and strategy, which is myself. The SEQ conference referee development officer is Adam Humphreys, and the SEQ. Okay, sorry, just make sure you guys are on mute, please. SEQ conference, which is Adam Humphreys, and the SEQ conference itself is South Coast, Metro, and Darling Downs. We'll also be we have a central conference referee development officer, which is to be advised at the moment, but we're in the process of organising and sorting out some volunteer agreements to a lot of those ground officials that are on this that are across the conference there for Central. And then the Northern Conference as well. We've got Townsville RCD, Mark Nopchis is taking up the role again for this season. Then we also have on the ground as referee support officers. We've got Daniel Gillander and Adam Michael. In Cairns, up in the far north, golf, we have Jamie Owens and as the RC do, and our referee support officer is Jethro Owens underneath him too. In Mackay, we're currently in the process of sorting out a volunteer agreement as well in Mackay, and with Mount Isa, just on the agenda with Mount Isa, I am currently in talks to at least try and get someone on the ground in Mount Isa because being up there the other weekend, there is some fantastic talent that is coming through from Mount Isa for such a small community that's up there. It's really fantastic to see up in Mount Isa. Our referee coaches, we have Casey and Misuk, who both work in the advanced as well as the state role with the coaching. So sorting out what we can do this evening, finding clips, and also giving back to the advanced league match officials and getting some of the elite match day coaches getting involved across the state. Perfect. With that being said too, we also have our that's the development side of it, our customer service department. So referee appointments statewide are managed by our customer service officials team, which is based at Meakin Park, with support and local knowledge provided by the referee development team and any region-based referee staff member. So for those across the state, obviously, we also, obviously with those RSOs and RC2s, it'll be in consultation with those guys in regards to appointments and moving forward. So for those that are worried about having to travel 2 hours to a game, please don't stress because they will understand what the difference is, for example, in Wide Bay between Bundaberg and Harvey Bay and Maryborough, so you don't have to travel that distance. So please, if you have any questions in regards to appointments as well, send them through to appointments@footballqueensland.com.au, and any general inquiries, send through to referees@footballqueensland.com.au. Perfect. I do believe that's the little my little session done with at the start, and I'm very pleased to hand you over to a very close friend of mine, Mr. Joey Lee, who's going to be taking the session tonight on positioning and movement, with making a decision. Just a bit of background before Joey gets background on himself. Joey was in fact on my very first game, and I love saying this story, Joey, because it was my very first game with yourself at a Coupler Creek Reserve. And my very first game, Joey told me to send off the coach for our home club that we both played for, who happened to be the president of our football club too. So I thank you so much, Joey, and he's a very close friend of myself too. So I'll hand you over to him.
Awesome. Thank you, Brad, and thank you for this opportunity. Really appreciate being able to chat to obviously anyone that I can about football and refereeing. Tonight, I just hope to go through just some basic concepts, just what we work with within our positioning and movement, not just for referees, but for ARs and a little bit on fourth officials as well. I think a lot of this stuff's transferable. So we've got question time at the end if we want to go through it. And I think the general theme we want to keep in this is just finding a way that it works for you within your own ability. So just as we go through with it, a bit of etiquette, if we could, please. So just cameras off. I know, especially over the last few years, everyone's big on eye contact and things like that. But we've been very fortunate. It's one of those little tech things. If we have cameras off, it'll help the buffering a little bit. So hopefully that might add. I think Drew threw in the chat about clips. So more than happy to share the YouTube clip. I'll have to chat to Brad if there's a way that we can share through, just because the clips that I will be showing tonight are examples that we've had from the advanced leagues and the professional leagues. So some of the information is quite sensitive. So we're very lucky that John Moss, who's the current head of referees in Australia at the moment, has been nice enough to allow us to have access to these. Same as Brad said, just audio off if we can until question time at the end. It's not that I don't want to answer your questions or anything. It's just if we go over it, or if we have the chance and multiple people have the same question, we can cover it at the end and just be a bit more time effective. If you have any questions as well that are just absolutely eating at you, please throw it in the chat. We'll circle back around to it. I hope to have a quick presentation just so I'm not holding up your evenings too much. And then that way, anyone keen to go through questions at the end and have a bit more of a chat, more than happy to work with. Mentioning again, just footage is provided by both FQ and FA, so please be respectful of the timer please be respectful of the match officials involved. These are people that we'll work with as colleagues, if not people we may not meet. I think it's one of those things, sometimes referees can be hardest on ourselves. So please just remember, these are our teammates. Let's be respectful towards them if you can, please. So just before we go into it, just to share a little bit about myself. As a match official, currently I work within the professional leagues. So I am an assistant referee on the Isuzu A-League for the men's, and I'm fortunate enough to be a fourth official and be included in some of the games in the Women's Ninja A-League. Currently, I'm not active as a match official in NPL Queensland, just because I'm sitting back more to be able to provide a coaching role and hopefully mentoring and support for those fantastic match officials coming through at the moment. So luckily I am currently holding highest caps, but I know there's a few people coming through and I'm sure they'll surpass that any season now. Also been very, very blessed. Selection for 7 NPL finals within Queensland and then 1 national final. Currently as a coach, I work within NPL Queensland and New South Wales as a match day coach, and also have the opportunity to work within the system of FARA and Football Queensland Referee Academy. Cool. So just to go through the agenda for this evening. So we know a quick game's a good game. So I'm not going to hold you guys up too much, and we'll just work through this general concept. So we're going to have a look at our approach to fitness and movement, the concepts we want to incorporate, coaching clips around these, and then we'll have some open questions at the end. Cool. So I've shared a picture. This isn't any type of dig or anything at John. I shared this. This is our current head of referees in Australia, John Moss. So I've really got to sing his praises when he talks to us in the professional leagues about fitness, about our approach to fitness. He's someone very big on the holistic approach to it, not just what we have incorporated for the game, but this is someone who's past retirement, done over 500 EPL games, and more than happy to tell us that he's still, going out for a run, still keeping fit, still finds it such an important aspect of his life. So I think really, if I can offer anything to yourselves, it's not just how beneficial we can have it on the field, but it's also off the field. So I've got a quote from MJ here, always a big fan. You have to expect things of yourself before you can do them. So training, physical fitness tests, and tolling matches should not be used or viewed as a punishment or a negative experience. These are opportunities for us to grow and develop ourselves so that we can contribute to our team, our game, and most importantly, ourselves. So we'll go through a couple of concepts. Some of these, if you've been around a little bit as long as I have, you might have found them familiar before, but I want to just rehash on them because, especially when speaking with younger match officials, we have a big discussion about what's the best position to get into for making a decision. When we go through these concepts, what I'm sharing with you today isn't the golden rule. It's not going to fix every decision that we have. We've all experienced situations where we just can't get a view, or that a unique position may get the view. But what I want to do is just give you some scaffolding, just something to be able to incorporate with your game, appropriate to your level, whether it be, junior football, metro football, semi-professional leagues, advanced leagues, even through to the professional leagues. All of these things are transferable. It's just working within your scope, and hopefully we'll give you something or some tools to make refereeing not easier, but simpler. So if we have these things to go through, it'll hopefully give you a way to analyze what you're doing within your match, within your game, and then be able to advance it from there. Or if not, be able to go out this weekend and get the decisions a little bit more correct and make it more straightforward for yourself. So in this frame, we have what we mentioned previously was the X factor. So I think this is something as we move away from our physical law books that it isn't mentioned as much anymore. So we're pretty lucky. In previous days, we'd have something like the X factor, which is basically, as we move on to the next frame before. So if you notice, there's those 2 lines leading into the collision here. It's really creating 4 zones. So obviously the way that we can see through it. So if you draw an intersection point from any point of contact or point of decision, so what we may be viewing, this is basically the channels or the line of vision that we're able to look through for it. So the optimal angle to view to allow a match official to adjudicate a decision with no or minimal visual obstruction. So you'll find at times when we're refereeing that we may be looking through players, around players, or even just in a far position away. What we really want to be doing when keeping the X factor in mind is just being able to work through and find that window of vision just to be able to see it and not obscured. So this window of view is possible either side of play, same as the blind spots. So as much as there is positions to be able to see the incident occur, you also have the equal amount of position that you won't be able to see it occur. So this is just a general approximation, but it gives you a good idea of where you need to be moving towards. So approximately 90% of people are right-handed. This allows us to have the best mathematical view by taking the left option. So with this, as you find very commonly, I know it's right-handed and we play predominantly with feet, but you'll find people will kind of marry that up between their hands and their foot coordination. This will give us a good idea with the intersection points. If you imagine feet clashing, that you're going to have that point of view, which will allow that angle to be able to have a look through it. So generally maintaining a left position also allows us to view and work with the appropriate assistant. So the other benefit to this, and as I said, these are frameworks, you might not find it working for yourself, but maintaining a left position is always advantageous because especially if you don't have the use of community. Sorry, just got muted. So if you don't have communication or paging equipment, this allows you to have a visual view of your assistant as well, which is going to allow you to have a bit more success as a referee for support. So maintaining a left position is advised for the majority of your decisions. There are times that you will find with better footballing knowledge and understanding that you may be able to drift left and find the opposite side in terms of the X factor and what we're viewing. But for the majority of it, you want to hold to the left side of the field of play. Oops, sorry. So the next concept I want to touch on is parallax error. So parallax error is an error in measurement that occurs when an object is viewed from an angle rather than directly on. This can cause the object to appear in a different position than it actually is. Now, this is a very technical, boring, scientific aspect, but I'm sure we've all experienced this when we've had a look through and been on the field. It applies very, very targeted, especially as an assistant referee when you look for offsides, possible ins and outs. But even you can apply this to your refereeing when you are in the middle of the field. We need to take this into account that if we don't have a good view, we may not see the correct decision or outcome of what we're looking at. So this is a really interesting concept to be able to keep in mind that if we aren't in the best position to give ourselves the best view, we're not going to be able to get the decisions or see them the way we want to see them. It's not that we're guessing, it's just if we aren't in the most advantageous position, we don't have all the information to be able to see a clear decision that we want to make. And then just quickly touching on fourth officials, I know these are only really in the semi-professional leagues, but if you are fortunate enough to be appointed for these in a final, a cup game, or in the semi-professional leagues, I really recommend you to take into account the value that you have as a decision maker and the concept of a third penalty area. So if you imagine in front of the benches, there's another penalty area. So as a general concept, it's advisable for the fourth official to assist the teams by supporting the decisions in the third penalty area. So if you use that, it's a general approximation, as we know, 18 yards. And then depending on how confident you are as a fourth official, how confident you are as a referee to give your fourth official that decision-making opinion. This is a really good general concept for those who haven't done too many fourth officials or had fourth officials work with them, just to give them an idea of what's got to be best to help them control and be able to contribute to the team's decision-making. So if a serious decision occurs here, it is a high possibility of a mass confrontation due to the proximity of technical staff and substitute players. So it's really imperative when we do have this luxury of an additional teammate being a fourth official within a game, or you are able to have this position, it is really important that we get decisions correct in that area. There's a lot of legitimacy that we can uphold for ourselves as a team within the game if we can get these decisions correct. And unfortunately, it's one of those ones where you're going to get a lapse in concentration, because even with 3 sets of eyes from the referee, first official, assistant, and the fourth official, that you may have someone overlap or just not take a responsibility of what the decision may be. So really important, if you do get the opportunity to be a fourth official, you don't have to pitbull it, you don't have to be involved in everything, but this is really the opportunity for you to be able to contribute and be able to add value to decision making for your team. Cool. So I'll show you the first clip. This is really interesting. So Drew asked before just about the different options, what we have for videos. So this is YouTube. So I'm only going to play partial amount of this. This is just a good insight what you'll be able to see for what a first person perspective is of the referee. The MLS have done a few of these videos, all 10, 15 minutes long. This is just one of the shorter ones, I believe, from the inception. I think it was 2013 or 2014 early on that they were able to have a ref cam.
You're sharing the wrong screen, Joey.
Oop. Did the full view one come up?
Yeah, full view one. Just try it again.
Just try it again. Is that coming through?
And there's no, nah, it's not coming through.
Oh, it doesn't allow it. It's YouTube. Okay, that's right. We might skip from that one. I think that's legal policy. Sorry, guys, that's my bad. I probably should have torrented it or something. But that's right. I'll move on. So if you want a chance, I'll throw it in the chat later on, just in regards to the actual YouTube clips themselves from the MLS. One of the good aspects of being able to have access to different preseason or different promotional games is that you can experiment with things within the laws of the game. Obviously, at the moment, ref cam's not something that we have on field. They did use it for Jared in an EPL game with clearance, but I might throw that in. So I might move on now, just continue through with the clips. That was just an example to have a look through. So what I'm going to pass on. Okay, thank you again, whoever let me know who that was. That was a bit embarrassing for myself. So I'll move on to these. Hopefully this will work a bit better. Just a reminder with these clips that we've been given access from Football Australia to utilize these. So if you can just be respectful, obviously the referees involved with it.
It's done that full screen thing again, mate.
Yeah. One sec. Sorry. Apologies, everyone. Okay, so I'll chat through with this one. Is that playing, Brad?
Yeah, mate, that's playing very very jumpy though.
Yeah. Well, we'll do our best. So you'll see the referee will work and does very well just to work the position, just through congested play in the middle. So no big sprints, nothing like that, but they utilize trying to work within those vision channels, like we were discussing with the X Factor, just to give them the best opportunity to see what may occur for fouls. So we'll move on to the next clip. So this is another one just from a Brisbane game. So this is a bit better example, just of use of positioning through the midfield, as well as being able to keep a view while moving into a high line. So you notice here the referee advance, but still keeps within that vision of the ball, just for that opportunity to see if there's a foul there. Luckily, they can adjudicate that it's not a concern. And you notice they work through the middle of the field, being able to view, check for his assistance. So it's not overly complicated or appealing when it comes to football, but it's just basic things that are able to help that referee come through, just be able to view what may occur from there. Now, moving on to the next clip. So this one is probably going to be the best for our coaching aspect. So this is both incorporating a referee and an assistant. So I'm going to play through it and then I'll chat through just the incorporation of the X factor as well as parallax error and how it comes into account for the decision making here. So we're pretty lucky here. We've got the chat on this one. I'm just going to come through again just to show you everyone a different angle. So this is the build-up play working through again. As you heard, something's occurred in the penalty area. So that's probably the best thing to be aware of as it comes through if you haven't seen this clip yourselves in person from last season. Okay. So I know the video is a bit jumpy and it's hard to still frame. So luckily I've been able to come across, and it's a bit blurry, but I'll show you the still frame of the point of contact here. So if you have a look through, there's a little hexagon with an arrow pointing through to it. This is my recommendation of how we can possibly see this incident, but this is actually another one where you have the opportunity to use the right channel and use the other side to be able to view it. So from the referee, they've been caught on a transition and unfortunately a head-on. This is a difficult one because you may not expect a handball from this driven ball from waist height, but it's one of those things, you know, if we're prepared and we're in a good position, it gives us the best opportunity to make the decision. And then if we have a look from the same still frame, you look for the assistant. This is talking about that parallax error. So you can hear in the comms, and I'll put my hand up. This was my mistake. I could have done a lot more for my team on this day itself, just to be able to contribute and give a bit more information. You can even hear me saying, I don't know what it is, but I can provide the referee in this situation a little bit of an idea of what may have happened. So in terms of those two lines, you can have a look where my position is roughly in line with the 18-yard box. And then the actual second last defender is probably 2 to 3 yards ahead of that, where this handball occurs. So in terms of parallax error coming into account here, if you have a look and possibly if I'm in the correct position or the assistant's in the correct position, more advanced up the field, it gives the opportunity to provide that information to the referee and see clearly what incident has occurred. Much similar to the referee, if I go back to the previous slide, if they are there on the left channel, it gives the referee a better opportunity to be able to view through and possibly see what incident may occur. Now, this has happened in the penalty area, which is a very, very serious aspect of the field where we want to be getting decisions correct. People forget things in the midfield, so it's really important that we take this into account. And if we can get into a good advanced position, we can invest the time, invest the work, be able to work around the penalty area. And then that way it'll allow us to open up channels of view just to hopefully get those big decisions correct, not just for referees, but also for assistants, as we can see in this case. Cool, but we're tearing through these tonight, so I'll go on to the last clip that I've got. So this is a more recent one from our current season. This is a final assistant clip here. So fast transition, going through, close ball over the line decision. And we'll have a look through. So once again, I'm not going to try and test my technical ability, but I've taken, and just to share you some of the facts around parallax error and where it can come into account, where we can make mistakes and the actual area of mistakes that we can have. So this is the still frame, the best that I was able to take on a 18-yard camera. So we're very fortunate in the leagues that we get to work to a professional level that there are multiple cameras and we can see a lot more coverage of the field. Blessing or a curse, you guys can consider it when you do have footage within the local game. It can go either way. It can work for you or work against you, but unfortunately at some levels you can't hide from anything. So if you have a look here, just in terms of when the ball's potentially out of play, the assistant referee is 7 yards from the corner flag. I'm going to guesstimate. I think 95 is a pretty fair number, sitting in between that 12-yard mark and the corner flag. And then just a rough calculation off there for the angle. If you have a look for the assistant, their variation is 4.21 degrees. So if you have a look at that, you know they're not aligned. They're not going to overall be able to have the best opportunity to tell whether that's in or out. And this is applicable for both offsides, for fouls, for corners, goal kicks, whatever it may be, even throw-ins at times. If we're not in line, if we're not in the best position to give ourselves the best opportunity, we're going to make mistakes. And that's not that any of us go out to deliberately make mistakes. It's just putting the odds in our favor to put ourselves in a position to make the best decisions we can. Cool. So we're tearing through it. I'll open up for questions. Luckily, we've got some pretty good match officials. So Vicky and Misuk, who are killing it this year in the ALW. I might just have a check. Brad?
Yeah, mate.
Are you able to run through some questions and we can go through them if that's all right, if there's any written through?
Yeah, can do. There's one question that's popped up with the field. Somebody's just asked with that previous slide that you had how wide the field is.
Yeah. I approximated with that one. I just liked rounded numbers for the calculations, to be honest. I didn't get the tape measure out, so I know by laws of the game, 100 yards would be appropriate. Oh, sorry, actually, no. Who asked that one? I got the length of it, not the width, so my apologies.
Yeah, that was the point I was getting at. Sorry, Joey. Yeah, you might have got the calculations wrong. Yeah.
No, please do. Calculation is absolutely incorrect for numbers, but I hope that the point can get across in terms of the margin for error. So no, thank you for sharing that. But yeah, definitely. So traditionally we'd probably be more 75 to 80 yards. So you'd find the variation and that would drop to maybe 3.5, 3.6 around there for degrees of error that you'll get from parallax. Yeah, cool. Got anything else, Brad?
Oh, someone's just said, oh, sorry, Adrian's just said, should we state it in meters than yards?
Either. Laws of the game are applicable for both. Predominant amount of measurements of the field are yards, 18 yards, 6 yard, to 11 yards from a free kick. So I think we can use either one transferable. I'm definitely all for using metric, but yeah, in terms of our laws of the game, it gives options for both.
And then before I get to you, Ronan, just the other question that's in the chat is, do you have any additional tips to help assist in ensuring you are in line with play as both as an assistant and referee?
I think it's a lot to the specificity of people. We all have different strengths and weaknesses that once we can understand and being self-aware, we can apply to it. Assistants are very black and white. We obviously want to do our best to be in line. So my recommendation there, especially if you want to work on this, is understanding what you're viewing is accurate and then knowing from there how you can contribute and then change it. So the best way is just going out, filming yourself for views and things like that as an assistant, doing crossover drills, because that'll call you out quickly. I remember years ago, David Weeby called me out on it, and I was very happy that he did when I was an assistant because I was out a meter or two. And basically I was able to go through, look at the footage and understand what I was seeing wasn't accurate. And then I could review it and then come back to it. For referees, this one's a lot more difficult. You've got to be dynamic. You need to be able to move around. And as we're talking about that X factor, it's one of those things I recommend, like the biggest thing you can do to become a better decision maker is understanding how you can get better, what your weaknesses are and how you can work on them, and then just an absolute truckload of reps. If you can go out there and understand what you're seeing, and sometimes that might be just little practical drills, trying to spot things, working with friends, doing referee ball drills, different visual drills. I usually think a good recommendation, especially at community football, if you find yourself doing the head lean or the body lean around corners, that's a really good subconscious cue that you can notice your body instinctively doing, trying to get extra distance towards it. The other side in that, and I'll beat this drum every day of the week, every day of the year. Fitness is imperative if you want to progress or if you want to make footballing and refereeing a bit more straightforward for yourself. As mentioned, we all have our own weaknesses and strengths. Not all of us are going to go out and be able to be the best long distance runner, the best sprinter. But if we can understand and be aware and analyze how we approach the game, and it's really good, I think, if you have role models and you look at different people within the A-League, everyone there, especially as referees, are absolutely amazing. Alex King, I think he's the best example. I'm sure all of us would know who King is. Just the total package. For me, the best referee in Australia at the moment. That's nothing against anyone else. He's got really stiff competition, but I always rate Kingy, and he just moves around the field so freely, but he works his butt off to do that. He works so hard to be able to run so smoothly. Another good example, if you want to look at a different style, Ali Razafagani. Once again, no disrespect for him. I think he is easily top 10 referee in the world. And, you look at what he does through Asia. He is fit. He can move. He does it. He just looks like he glides. But the other thing, if you take the time, you sit down, and it's like watching a great footballer. He just knows when to move. He reads play so well. And that footballing understanding for him is just such a huge benefit. And then, you even have a look through. I think Casey's on the call. I've got to give a shout out to her if you want to think about positioning. This is someone that's working within two facets of the game, switching between the Ninja A-League as well as the men's league with the Isuzu Ute A-League. And she's changing the tempo, changing the speed, having to use different movement patterns. They're two differently played games. And this is someone who within herself is mastering that. Once again, another top 10 referee, in my opinion, especially in the women's space. If you can go out, you can watch these people and understand what they're learning from it. It's a huge benefit to your game, and then how you can apply it to your own. But yeah, hopefully that's not too long-winded answer to that question. Brad, what do we got?
We got Ronan's hand up, and then I'll go back to the chat.
Yep, Ronan, what's up, brother?
Just with the parallax, you probably answered half of it in that last response. You mentioned like you've got that angle of error.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're kind of taught to adjust for that, or is it more just working hard to get to that position every time? Or is it like if you're 4, 5, 6 degrees out, do you guys get taught like a way to kind of adjust, I guess, by having some kind of landmark, I guess, to see? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's very hard visually to show you, but this is where, and like I'm a very big one for fundamentals, and apologies to anyone that's been told to sidestep more as an assistant. I'm one person who will always coach that. That's the important thing for parallax error, is that if you're square to the field or you have your head locked to your shoulder when you're sprinting down, you're doing your best to create that right angle to kind of set square yourself to the field. The other aspect that I really want to remind people, and just to give an understanding of appropriateness for level of fitness to level of football that you have, is that we're not faster than a ball. So anyone that beats themselves up for a close ball over the line, for something that's determined, you will never outrun a ball. On the plus side, the people that we do compete with are only human. So for yourselves, it is hard because sometimes we have to start from a dead start, but you want to, especially if you're working in the assistant referee space, you need to be able to outmatch those defenders and those attackers with you. So if you set your alignment first, that's the important thing. And you might have noticed in those videos, it's very difficult. My apologies. I don't mean to come across it as elitist or anything like that. We can offer verbal cues to one another when we use communication equipment. So you might have heard the term now used often. That's working with a kick point. So now gives you an idea when you need to take that picture or that vision of, say, an offside decision, that you can then take in your mind and actually have the correct feedback to be able to be in the right position or be prepared for a through ball. So hopefully that's a bit of help just for indication for offsides or just working with the AR space. The other thing as well, you may just find that coming out, and this is a really big thing, this is obviously hopefully helping Brad a little bit for agenda, but when you're doing pre-game checks, have a look at the orientation in the field. There's some really good fields you have a look that they're square to the clubhouse. That'll give you indications where you may need to queue up. If not, there's actually positions on the field. If you think there's the 18-yard box, there's a 6-yard box, there's a center circle. These are aspects of the game that you can look at when players are tracking past it and just take note to self and go, oh, I'm in line now. I'm in line. We're continuing. We're keeping a similar speed. And then as if you transition down to the 18-yard box, then you can understand that, you're maintaining the correct speed and alignment. Does that answer your question at all, Ronan, or help at all?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So don't need a protractor next time I come out to a game.
I'll get you one, brother. I'll get you one. Brad, yeah.
I think the other one in the chat. So can you please explain / emphasize the expectations for ARs to get down to the corner flag?
So I'll put my hand up. This is my personal opinion. Every time, do the work. Invest in yourself. Invest in what you can do. Technically, for the laws of the game, if someone launches it within Kui, get to a good position. So that may be the 6-yard box to obviously indicate your ins and outs. But having made as many mistakes as I have in my career, and I've shown you some ones that have kept me up at night, as simple as they may be, I am very hard on myself. For myself, if I was coaching an AR, if they want to progress, get to the corner flag as much as you can. Same as the penalty area, goal line decisions, in outs, they can make your career. There's times that you can't always make it. I showed you just there in the last clip, couldn't make it to the corner flag in time, did my best, but I still made it and eventually got there in the end. It's definitely worth an investment. It's kind of one of those things that you want from your team. I don't think we emphasize enough how we work as a team as referees. And if you want to show, obviously, your commitment to those watching you off the field, but as well as your team on the field, I definitely recommend getting to the corner flag as much as possible. But as mentioned within the laws of the games, there are parameters when we definitely know there's a clear indication that the ball's out of play for a goal kick or a corner, that you can definitely cool the jets a little bit. But that's my personal approach to it. You may need to get advice from Football Queensland further on their view of it when it comes to coaching reports and their practical advice on the field.
I can agree with that, Joey, mate. Get down to that corner flag, mate. Because if we have a goal line decision and you're standing up near the edge of the penalty area, you're not going to be able to make a goal line decision from there. You need to be making it on the goal line near the corner flag, or be in front of the corner flag so it's not blocking your vision.
I think just applicably to every level of football, though, as I said, I don't want to sound elitist or anything like this, because we are all the same team. We really are, and I want to emphasize that, especially as we look through with Mark moving on and things like that. Just put your effort in. Like, it's not unseen. It's I think there's two sides of the coin, and there's always that discussion at the beginning of the year. Just everyone should respect everyone's effort, and if you're doing that to the best of your ability, like, there should never be judgment on you. There's just going to be times that you can't do it, and sometimes the ball's in play too quick, but just do your best to get there. But I definitely recommend, do what you can to get to the corner flag every time.
Another question that came up, Joey, is flash flag still a thing?
Absolutely. It's always a thing. I still wanted to start with this general concept. I may not finish it, but someone else may finish it. Flash flag, 100 billion, 1,000% is a thing. So I recommend parallax error is just a general term within society. It's used across so many different things. Flash flag's the same. So if there's popularity for it, more than happy to see if we can dig it up. I'm happy to support the FQ team. I think there's a far more qualified assistant working within the FQ office that may want to go through it, but I'm more than happy to support if needed. So the concept of flash flag, I'm only going to do it roughly off the top of my head, and I definitely recommend, if you are from a regional area, looking into this, because I find at times this is one of those things that don't get passed on. It's the perception of what you see to how it actually occurs, just in terms of a quick moving event. So it's a very, very broad explanation, and apologies. And really good examples is if you watch TV and commentators are awful at picking offside, they're getting better, but someone looks 100 meters offside and they're not, basically because you've got a stationary defender, or even worse, a defender pressing up to halfway, and then you have an attacker running at full speed. And then it's our perception in terms of how we view that and how we take that into account. So I definitely think if we had more time, I'm trying to get you guys time back. I won't go over a full presentation on it this evening, but it's a huge investment. If anyone works as an assistant, I recommend you to invest the time and look into it, or even if you see me in passing or you get the chance, we'll have a chat about it, and hopefully I can find you some examples. Next one, Brad.
Next one was... Sorry, just got a couple of statements in there. Somebody said, what even is... Oh, sorry. Where should an AR stand during the corner kick if the player is kicking from the side angle?
Side angle? Can I clarify? Is that an in-swinger, or are they talking about what side of the field? Or both of those things? I'm okay. I might give a general coverage of it. So if the corner's been taken, So the first thing we need to remember, especially in the current game, is there's less and less likely chance of teams sitting players on far and near post, which means once the ball becomes active for offside, the goalkeeper may be that final line of offside. So I just want to put that little premise in it because that may change where you need to set your position coming out of a corner. So obviously you can't be offside from a corner, but that second ball or second attacker touch may result in a quick offside. So please take that into account. Now, if the corner is happening on the opposite side to the assistant, and you can presume the offside line is the goal line, I usually like to step and have my shoulder blades touching the corner flag in line with the fields, just so I don't have an obscured view, but I also have physical stimuli to understand where I am on the field so I can get back to my square set piece position, moving into active play. If the corner is being taken on my side as an assistant, it just depends. Really, you can probably take a step back, and same as a referee in a set piece, you're actually able to take a step back, and you've got to remember the beauty of what we're all involved and brought together for is football, and we don't want to hinder people taking a corner piece lawfully. So if we come back a meter and a half, if space space allows, just step in as they take the kick. So the good thing is, they're going to follow through like a referee trying to search in and find from a set piece. If you're coming in from a corner being taken on your side, whether it's in swing or out swing, allow the space for the kicker and then step in as they come in to take the kick. So you're basically maybe a meter and a half behind them, just to allow yourself then to move into position. I think a really good recommendation to understand as well is any cross or any clearance from a goalkeeper, usually give yourself 3 to 4 seconds of hang time before it's going to meet the intersection point. So we hear about being under the rainbow or players coming up and challenging for headers. You usually have 3 seconds, maybe 2 seconds in a corner, but that's enough time for you to move back into position, back in line with the corner flag, and hopefully set up for that corner. Next one, Brad.
Next one was best or preferred positioning at goal kicks in line with penalty area or in line with penalty area to watch for attacker encroachment.
Is this for assistance?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for assistance, this has changed a bit. So old school, and I loved it. It was one of those little subtle cues we had. Once the goal kick was set up appropriately in the 6-yard box, you'd advance to the 18-yard. But then with it as well, you need to take into account and look at it when it comes into it, what makes sense for play. So you may, hopefully the fields are marked well enough that you can see when an attacker's coming close to encroaching on the 18-yard box, so you can do something about it. But especially with the tactic now being playing out short, it can be recommended to wait at the 6-yard box just to be set if there is possibly a counter or turnover for a potential penalty area decision or for an offside.
Perfect. And then do you have any tips for bringing your focus back to the game when it may be slow or one-sided?
So personally for myself, I break games up into 15-minute increments to be a bit vulnerable and opening myself up to you guys. Obviously, anxiety is something that can sit on any of our minds. What we do is really not an easy job at times. Very fulfilling, very enjoyable, but I break the game up into 15-minute bites. And then I always look through it. So first 15 minutes, a lot of energy within any half. Second 15 minutes is where I understand that people switch off, and this is where clumsy challenges happen. And then final 15 minutes is where things get serious and teams want to play just to get goals and things like that. So that's how myself personally, I'll break that into both halves. And then obviously in the second half, that intensifies. So even if you look for yourself, you notice clumsy things, same thing. And, this might even be something that you can help curve the behavior in the game, is maybe you might encourage yourself to talk more through the middle segment of the 15 or however you may want to break it up. But that's just a strategy I use for myself. Other aspects that you might find in terms of concentration or helping manage your mental load within the game is things like grounding. So you might want to go out there. A good example of grounding, and this is also something when you're overstimulated or you feel like you're going through tunnel vision, you might want to go out there and maybe just think, feeling your feet in your boots. bringing yourself back to reality. You also may want to go out there. I think a good visual one is go out there and go, okay, I'm going to name 3 things that I can touch. And, just say it in your head. Don't be too odd if you're someone like me and go, oh, okay, corner flag, grass, goal nets, and this is just something to get your mind going, thinking about what you're looking at. Another really good thing, I think, and I recommend for anyone that wants to improve their game, is understanding the considerations, is talking and having an internal dialogue over what you're seeing and what you're considering going forward. And what I mean by that is, as you're progressing through the field, think of how many defenders are around the attacker. Think of what may occur. Think, okay, if this comes through, that's going to be a caution. And then kind of think to yourself and stimulate your own mind and think about it. Okay, this is going to be a caution because there's, still another defender covering. It's only a careless challenge and it's tactical foul. These are things that you can have for internal dialogue. And even if you're lucky enough to use communication equipment, I recommend at times in vital moments, not the whole time having a running commentary, but even just sharing it with your team just to make sure that they're on the same page as you are. The other good thing, not just being able to help you stay alert within the game, it also primes you for the decisions you're about to make and gives you some clarity on what you want to be able to do going forward. If you can have that, so good example is Spa versus Dogso. That's always a big discussion and, always a controversial point when it comes to coaching or any feedback from games or even from how the public perceive what we're doing. If you have those considerations, and we always go afterwards, and I'm sure we've been in change rooms where we go, oh, was there a defender behind there? Whereas if you're doing the proactive thing and counting out and going, okay, there's 3 defenders, this will get you a proactive approach to be able to have a bit more concentration and a better sense of clarity when making that decision if it does arise. If not, you're still aware of the game and you're still aware of your surroundings. Brad.
That was mostly all the questions that were there, mate. We just got the only extra bits that are there are just a couple of statements and that some of the refs are put in there, which are really excellent. One of them being Paul Eldridge as well. He's an assistant referee specialist too that we've got on the ground across the Brisbane space.
Paul Eldridge, I need to say this. This is a public forum and I don't mean to hijack this for personal needs. Paul Eldridge, if you're lucky enough, and I hope that his daughter's refereeing as well, Paul Eldridge is outright one of the best match officials I've been able to share the field with. I look up to him. I get tingly at the moment talking about him. He's one of those people that, he is going to just be one of the best match officials out there, just good thoughts, outstanding, was a FIFA assistant. Really glad that he spared the time to jump in with us. Amazing person, just outright. So Paul, absolute legend.
Yeah, and he's put in there keeping the mindset going as well, breaking the game into smaller segments such as groups of 10-minute blocks, like putting that in your mindset to keep you going.
I probably got it from him. That's probably where it's from. So thank you, Paul.
He also said checking alignment as AR when players not close to you, head drop to check your feet and draw the line across the field, set the halfway line. I know that was a tip that I was given as well. Actually, that was from you, Joey, and it was probably from Paul as well, doing some matches. So
Paul or Bob Eady, but one or the other probably.
Alrighty. I think that's all the questions tonight. So I just want to say on behalf of us here as well, Joey, thank you so much for joining us on the session tonight too, and running through that session too. It's been really helpful, and it's been a huge learning curve for a lot of our match officials that are out there across the state. And I'm sure a lot of them appreciate it. So thank you so much, mate. And we'll catch up very soon. It looks like Fong. Oh no, he hasn't got a question. Okay. Yes. Actually, Joey, do you mind just scrolling back to that QR code just at the top? Thanks, mate. Just so a couple of latecomers can sign it and get it. And the code word for tonight was positioning as well. So again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and enjoy the rest of your night. And hopefully we'll see you out on the pitch very, very soon.
Hey, goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Thanks very much. See ya.